everyone, I got a great video for you today. In this video, I'm talking Etsy trends. Recently, they released this where they talked about 7 different Etsy trends for spring and summer of 2026. So I'm going to go over these as well as show you what's trending with these specific trends on Etsy right now using ProfitTree. I'll show you that they're actually selling, and then go over the t-shirt styles that relate to these 7 trends so that you can figure out what kinds of design styles you would make when creating for these trends on Etsy and for any other POD. I think this would work for multiple PODs as well as a Shopify store if you have that too. So lots to go over here, lots of cool different trends where you can see some different designs that are all selling on Etsy right now. So let's get into the Etsy trends and I'll show you where to find it. Alright, so here's the article. It's in Etsy News. I'll put the link down in my description, but it's a pretty long one, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but look for it in the description here. But basically, it's Etsy trends for spring and summer. We're just now getting into summer, so this is perfect. And then if you scroll down here, you can kind of flip through it right here. So I'm going to click on here. This is the person who made it, which is really cool. You can read that. And then it starts right here with the soft touch stitch era, World of Whimsy, trend number 2, trend number 3, Gothic Romance, and so on. So you can come on here and do this. So the next thing I'm going to do is go one by one each trend. So I'm going to blow up that thing that we have here, and we're going to look at it and then go back into Etsy and look for styles that match this trend and see if they're selling, how well they're selling. I'm going to gather a bunch of those together and then kind of comment on the different styles for that trend so that you can see like what kinds of things you can do to create t-shirts in that style for this trend. So let's go to trend number 1. Alright, so here's trend number 1, soft stitch era. So let's look at some of these things. Embroidered bags up 77%, crochet clothing. So these are the kinds of things, crocheting, patches and stuff. So I'm going to get into actually patchwork. I think this really relates to some of the patchwork things that I'm seeing on Etsy. Let's go take a look at some of this stitching patchwork stuff on Etsy and see how well they do on t-shirts, even though they're not really patchwork, but they're still selling. So here I am on Etsy. I typed in patchwork t-shirt, did a search for that. I'm using Etsy Radar from ProfitTree, so that's why you're seeing these. Now, if you don't have ProfitTree, I'll put a link in the description. Right now they have $67 lifetime plan, which means you only pay one time $67 and you can use all of these things that I show for ProfitTree. So ProfitTree also has its own app with Product Finder, Etsy Radar, all your reports here. They added this new thing here with the demand, so you can see if something has sold often or if it's in carts or in views. You'll see these badges as well when I show it later on some of the mock-ups. This is with ProfitTree. So you'll get all of this, including this right here where it just shows up when you're doing a search. So you can see like this one's getting a lot of sales. It got 15 sales this month. This one got 25 sales, but we're looking for patchwork stuff. So like this one right here, this is a bestseller, 26 sales, right? Goes well with that trend that we're talking about, the stitching trend. Look at this right here. Even though this is flat, even though it looks like it's patchwork, I wish it was patchwork, but it's definitely just a flat design. 25 sales this month. People are still wanting to buy this, and of course this one in USA, 36 sales this month, and so on. So these are the kinds of things that Etsy is saying was going to sell with the trend, and it definitely is selling with the patchwork stuff. Look at this, 4K already, 10K for US. So they kind of mashed up the holiday, July 4th, and the patchwork stitching thing, and is getting a ton of sales. So let me show you some of the things that I think you should look for when creating designs like this. Alright, so the soft stitch era trend. These are some t-shirt examples right here. And some of the things that you might want to look for is stitching, like we talked about. Look, like different patchwork, a lot of times they're different colors. So in this case, you got different patches, and this one right here, different patches. And this one's really unique. I think it's more like a stitching instead of a patchwork, which is really, really cool. We're starting to see a little bit more playful things right here, like this one with stitching. So as long as you put some stitching in it, some different colors, some patchwork, I think that's a way to go. You can prompt that in as well. Sometimes there's words, so you can put words, but you can see most of these like no words, no words, no words, no words. and when it's appropriate, some words that match in the same color. But you can get away with this one without putting any words. If you have a really fun graphic and lots of good stitching elements and colors, I think you can do really well for this trend, which is the soft stitch era. The next trend, trend 2 here, is the world of whimsy. So lots of whimsical things. Think of like polka dots. You see in this one, 835 increase in sales, whimsical jewelry, mahjong sets, and so on. Embroidery, we saw some of that in the stitching one. But I'm going to take a little bit of spin on this and just do kind of the word whimsy and whimsical design. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's get into Etsy and I'll show you some of these designs that match, I think, this trend of world of whimsy. Okay, back on Etsy again. Here it says whimsy t-shirt. That's what I searched for. And you can see all kinds of whimsy. So we got like whimsy colors, kind of colorful whimsy, putting things all together. I think this one's kind of whimsy right here with the style of the bug out eyes of the animals here, and then just the style of it. This is kind of whimsy. We've seen these before with the frogs and a scooter or frogs. I think that's a different thing. Let's see some other whimsy stuff that I think is whimsy. These kinds of things like the bananas, very whimsical. This one, right, on a scooter, very whimsical, and things like that. So you can see some of these are doing really, really well. Let's take a look at this one. 10 sales, 400. That's kind of whimsy. This one's always been popular. These kinds of whimsy things here. These bugs here. Look at that. 25 sales. Very whimsical in the way they lay it out and the colors, and even the fonts. Kind of fun. So think fun, whimsical things can get you a lot of sales on Etsy with this trend. So let me show you some of the other ones that I found and kind of go over some of the characteristics of it. Alright, so here's my collection of World of Whimsy t-shirt examples. You can see they kind of go all over the place, but all of them kind of have this whimsical feel. So either if you're just one design or one graphic where the graphic is whimsical or doing whimsical things, it can have like text on here, or it can just be a whimsical full graphic. You can see the art style is different, but the feeling of whimsy is what we're going for. Here's all kind of hand drawn together. This one's all kind of whimsical as well, kind of put together. It's not like a cartoon frog, but you can see that it's still whimsy. And this one's totally different style, but still kind of whimsy. So it ranges in different styles, but they're all, like you can see, this was a bestseller, 20 in the carts and everything. We talked about this. The word whimsy as well is trending. So I found this one that got a lot of sales that says full of rage and whimsy. So I think that ties into there. Just some really funny, when you look at it, you feel this whimsical feel, I guess. It's funny, kind of different, right? What you're looking for. So we saw this sardines one here. So that's what I would say. Try and be a little bit different, kind of quirky, whimsy, funny kind of thing. And it doesn't have to be in a certain style, but the emotion is what we're going for when we're creating t-shirts for this trend, the second trend, which is the world of whimsy. So trend 3 in the Etsy trends here is they're calling it Gothic romance. So I think this ties into some of the Gothic romance novel kinds of things. So you can see, so they have their aesthetic, right? This barware, stained glass. What I like about this is they don't talk about t-shirts, so that's why I think this video is really helpful, that you can see kind of a tie-in between t-shirts and the trend. So let's take a look at Gothic romance t-shirt trends on Etsy and see what we can find. Alright, so back on Etsy, I just typed in for the search, you can do this too, Gothic romance t-shirts, and I believe, yeah, I did bestseller up here. And take a look at this. This is a bestseller. Using ProfitTree right here, we can see 36 sales this month, over 11K in revenue for this, where it's like mashing up that romance book, but it's kind of that Gothic style, right? So people who love to read those Gothic romance books probably will buy this one. Check out this. This is more of a Gothic kind of thing, not really romance, but Gothic. So I would say stay away from Twilight here. Let's see what else we got here. We got some other book related stuff, a lot of medieval. This one's kind of cool. Book club, right? Gothic romance. You can kind of see the skulls and there. And look at that, 2K, 30 sales this month already. Book introvert. So we're talking Gothic romance books as well. And if you scroll down here, you'll find some of these other ones. So let me go over, this is a really cool one too, 10 sales, 3K. I'm going to go over some of the other ones that I found, and let's talk about some of the characteristics that you might be looking for in a Gothic romance trend. Alright, so here are 10 different examples of t-shirts for the Gothic romance style or trend. You can see some of them, again, are full Gothic romance design styles, usually on black, but not always, because these are kind of lighter colors. But sometimes you can talk about books. A lot of times there's skulls in here with flowers and moons and things, moths, right? But sometimes you have like these serif fonts right here where it's really has that romance feel and the Gothic feel. So look for those kinds of fonts, but a lot of crows, books, you can see a lot of books, and again, skulls here. So these are the kinds of things, characteristics that you might be looking for. Maybe do some skulls, some books, some moths, things like that, all together, and maybe with a phrase about something, not necessarily the word Gothic romance, but something in that genre of reading and things like that. I think that can really help with this Gothic romance. Again, you don't need words if you want to do the ones with the books, but a lot of times you can get stuff like this, which is really cool, where it's just a design on a dark t-shirt with all this kind of Gothic goblin core kind of style designs. Trend 4 from the Etsy trends is called Treat Yourself, and you can see a lot of these have gone up. This is how they know. Gen Z celebrated just because moments last year. Really cool ideas of what's trending on Etsy that they're seeing as far as this Treat Yourself. I'm going to take it a step further and talk about maybe treats, like treating yourself with little treats of food and snacks, and in this case coffee right here. And let's take a look at some of those things on Etsy that are trending with treats on t-shirts. Alright, so here on Etsy I typed in snack t-shirt right here and did a search, and this is what I found. This one, just a girl who needs her snacky snacks. Got some sales right here. Snack dealer, we got some of these snacks here. This snack dealer does really well right here. 112 sales according to ProfitTree this month. 16K in revenue. Pretty cool, right? Let's see some other. These snacks make me nicer. Not selling yet, but that's definitely in that area. Oh, I guess this one is the original snacks make me nicer, getting 2K. Snack dealer and so on. There's a bunch of other ones that I found as well, so let me show you what I found and kind of go over some of the characteristics that I noticed for this trend. So when I looked for these t-shirt examples, I also looked up coffee, which brought me to some of these ones that are trending. Also some of these ones, being kind to yourself, so not only treat yourself, but kind of a not motivation, but inspiration, kind of treating yourself right, those kinds of things. Is, I think, part of the treating yourself. So I got coffee stuff here, coffee, snacks. It's okay to be okay and treat yourself, right? This one, have the day you deserve, that kind of stuff. Just peachy kind of motivational sayings. I think this one, it also works both ways, because you're feeling just peachy, but it's also a snack. And this one kind of, be kind to your mind, kind of that. So it encompasses a lot of things by treating yourself maybe to a cup of coffee, or treating yourself right, or treating yourself to some snacks. That's how I look at this, and I think it relates to a lot of sales, because people, like the trend was saying, want to treat themselves, and then they can see that as part of buying the t-shirt as a treat to themselves as well, because they relate to them treating themselves to coffee and a croissant, or treating themselves right and things like that. So it's a mindset kind of thing, and lots of different styles you can go off. You can see this is a different style than this one, but it's all kind of related, not necessarily on a style, but more of a thought of treating yourself right. So go with that in mind and come up with some cool things that people who want to treat themselves would also want to buy these shirts. Trend number 5, according to Etsy, is one they're calling Botanical Bride. So you see a lot of flowers here for brides specifically, so for weddings and things like that. So you can see floral rings, bridesmaids baskets is up 4,200%, which is crazy what they're seeing on Etsy. So we're going to relate some of these things to T-shirts. They're definitely selling a lot of T-shirts for bridesmaids and weddings and things like that. And I'm going to show you some of the sales with ProfitTree, how well they're doing on Etsy. All right, back on Etsy, I typed in botanical bride. You can definitely do bridesmaids and things like that as well, but I wanted to show you kind of the tie-in botanical bride here, exact same phrase as the trend. And we got some bride t-shirts with flowers in here, the word bride. You can see that one's doing pretty well. This one, 7K, 0 sales right now, but did some before. Look at that with bride and that. Let's see some other ones. Definitely just flowers sometimes do really well. You know, it doesn't say bride on here, but just the flowers do really well. Let's see if we got some more bride specific. Bridesmaid stuff in general. This one doesn't have flowers, but look at that. 100. Oh no, that's 15K, 41 sales in this month. So lots of different flowers and brides, and if you can put them together, I think you can get a lot of good sales. So let me show you the ones that I've found that relate to both brides and flowers and kind of show you the style that is trending. All right, so botanical bride t-shirt examples that I found. You can see this one doesn't have flowers, but you could add flowers to this kind of thing right here with a script one. This one has kind of more of a flower pattern on it, on the teacups here. It says bachelorette, kind of a bachelorette party thing, so you can personalize this. Again, you could just do flowers. I think that would work for a bride to buy it. And then we have some other ones here. So a lot of the hand-drawn kind of flowers, wildflowers. A lot of them are on light t-shirts. Some of them are dark, but I think most of them are on light t-shirts. And if you tie in the word bride with some flowers, I think you can do some really good stuff here. But think about more bachelorette party. What would the bridesmaids wear? What would the bride wear? Not necessarily at the wedding, but maybe after or before the wedding happens. So I think a lot of these can do really well. And if you just want to go into the flower thing and not do brides, definitely there's a space for that where there's just flowers and they do really well. So this one has 100 of them in here. You can see 300 in carts here where it's the kind of the wildflowers, but more of the watercolor wildflowers. I think that does really well too. So have fun with this one. I think this is a big one, has really big potential, especially during the summer when there's a lot of weddings. All right, just 2 more trends to go here. Trend number 6, they're calling Dear Diary. So a lot of diary stuff, related stuff being sold on Etsy right now. You can see journal charms up 479%, which is pretty crazy. A lot of these people love to start doodling and drawing and things like that, and that's kind of where I'm going to take this trend on t-shirts. We're going to see a lot of doodling, a lot of drawing, sketching on t-shirts, and that turns out to be really good sellers too on Etsy. So let me show you some examples. All right, so here I am on Etsy. I just typed in drawing t-shirt and we got some ideas here. Now this one I think is a custom drawing from like a little kid, and then they send it in and you can personalize it and put it on a t-shirt. So that's a different way to do it. Same thing with this, but we also have some hand-drawn stuff as well. Oh, by the way, take a look at how many this one is making with ProfitTree. 10K, 31 sales. Like, that's really cool idea where you can personalize a kid's drawing and put it on a t-shirt. Pretty neat. Let's see some other drawing stuff here. We also have some drawing art supply kind of things here. 1K, this one made. Let's see some other ones. Oh, some line drawings I think that can be really done well. And then again, I think this is a custom turn into a drawing, which is really neat. So let me show you some of the other things that I found on here on Etsy and kind of talk over what kinds of styles you can do for this trend, which is the diary trend. All right, so here's Dear Diary t-shirt examples that I found. Some of them actually look like scrapbooking diary things. That's where I took this one. This dandelion doesn't look like you would draw it, but it kind of looks like a scrapbooking thing, so I went that way. We saw this one already. We can also talk about writing in your diary or writing in a journal. It's a good day to write. You can have kind of the pen and paper club. I'm looking at some more like doodle examples here too, so more hand-drawn, kind of when you draw in your diary or in your journal, kind of doodling. Same with this one right here. Some write-on, which is related to kind of writing Here's another writing one. This one, you can see the style is more hand-drawn. So more sketchy hand-drawn things is what it basically comes down to. I think that does really well. It's not necessarily just diary stuff, although I think you can relate it to drawing in the diary or writing in the diary. A lot of good writing things as well. So if you're going on the side of writing in your journal or writing in your diary, I think there's a lot of things for that. But if you're going on the other side of more like drawing and doodling, we also have those kinds of things that's trending for this. And I think both of those can relate to this trend, which is the Dear Diary trend. All right, last trend right here is trend number 7. They're calling it everyday exhibits, which is really cool. Think of like a museum. I'm thinking more like science fair, but you can see wall decor mirrors, fan wall art, abstract art, gallery prints up, everything that they're seeing. So they're thinking about this as a trend. I'm going to show you how you can kind of relate this trend as well, what we're seeing on Etsy that's getting a lot of sales that I think relates to this because it feels more like an exhibit or a science fair. All right, so check this out. This is Etsy. I just typed in science t-shirt and hit search, and take a look at some of these fun ones. This one feels like almost a science fair kind of thing, and it's 4K, 5 sales already. I'm seeing a lot of shirts like this where it looks kind of like vintage science fair kinds of things. So you see it's kind of like telling you kind of sciencey things. This one isn't selling, but if we go down here and look at some of these other ones, this one like the mitochondria, so we're seeing that those are getting popular, haven't sold yet, but look at this, 426 total sales, mitochondria. This one again like a science fair kind of thing. 193 total revenue. This is another science fair, science kind of related things where you have all the different whales or all the different sharks or all the different kind of birds, and with the labels here, and look how well it's doing. 11 sales a month, 444 total revenue. And here's the one that's super popular right now, as well as I think the bottom one. Yeah, you can see all of these are kind of more science fair stuff, and this is super popular. 400, what is this, carts right now, and 18K, 104 sales this month. So you can see why a lot of people are trying this style. When we go up here and we see some of these that haven't got sales yet, it's because they're going off of the style that is working right here with this one. Really cool. I think it's a cool style to go off of. I'll show you some other ones that I found that relate to kind of this science project exhibition kind of style. All right, so here are some of the other examples that I found. Very science fair. You can see kind of it's the little things, right? Vintage, and a lot of these are like vintage illustration. So this one definitely the one we saw. Here's another one, pollination, sorry. Vintage illustrations kind of showing it all together. And I love the use of hierarchy with big letters or big words and smaller ones. You notice it here, big and small. You notice it here, big and small and smaller. And then the graphic really stands out, kind of like a science fair project. What we also see is a lot of different animals. So in this case, be kind to all kinds, all this. I think this also ties into the whimsy one, right? Here's also like cards or birds. Here's another one you can do with fruits. So you can do this with fruits and animals and sciencey things, stamps. This is the whale one that we saw. And this one is not just one color. They took it into full color to make it look like a science project kind of thing. Again, look at the hierarchy with the big words at the top, the smaller words, and then even smaller ones to kind of talk about the description here. But really cool layout. It's almost like a book, going back to the diary one again. But yeah, I think this is what you're looking for. It's just a lot of different things. You notice it's not just one thing. It's just we have a lot going on, a lot for people to see and look at, either with lots of different animals or lots of things going on with the science thing. So I think this is a really fun one to do if done right. You'll notice a lot of people are jumping on this right now when we go to Etsy. I think this can really, if done right and with the right things, can really take off, and because it's so original looking, and it just has this vintage look. People are going in for this vintage style right now on Etsy and other print-on-demand places. So there you go. Those are the 7 Etsy trends that they shared. Hopefully you like them. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite out of the 7. I really like that last one with the science project one. I think it's really cool. I'm going to have to try and make some of those for myself as well. Now, if you want to learn how to create some of these Etsy trends or trends that I find on Etsy, I made this video right here of some other trends that I found on Etsy that I show you how to make in Kittl. So I go step by step and showing you how to create it, what kinds of fonts to use and graphics and everything. So hopefully that video is really helpful. Thanks again for watching, and as always, keep creating and keep learning. I'll see you on the next one.